IVM.
Hello and welcome to Simblified. This week we have a shorty. Hello, Srikeit.
Hello, what's up, Chuck?
Hey. Hello, Naren.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Hey.
Naren's not here. He's tending to his factory or, mafia business or whatever it is he does up in Vasai. Anyway.
I have an image of Naren diving through gold like Scrooge McDuck.
Wow. You must tell him this next time you're on the show. Anyway, so Srikeit, since you're not in Bombay, let me update you on one thing that's happening here right now. Rain. And mostly rain, actually. It is pouring, and pardon my French here, like a bitch over here at the moment. And that is not an allegory on raining cats and dogs, actually. It's quite bad, and I thought, so one of the things, as always, that happens is the weather department said, hey, we are going to have extremely bad weather tomorrow, everybody stay indoors, here is public holiday take. And it did not rain on said public holiday. So that got me thinking, okay, how do these guys actually predict weather and all that? And from there, I thought, okay, cool, this is worthy of a simplified shorty, really, because other people must be thinking about how to predict weather and all that.
We always make this assumption, but I really doubt there are.
Okay. So one reason why I know we like to take the Mets case on getting weather wrong, but one thing I realized is there are so many variables in this that literally, like you're talking about every single thing in the world. The butterfly effect, right?
Yeah.
It was actually coined by a meteorologist who said that butterfly, flapping its wings in Asia can cause a storm in can cause a storm in New York. Now, if you think about that, I mean that's an exaggeration. But if you think about all the things that exist in the world, and I talk about the world over here with all its unpredictability and Donald Trumps that are over there, and all the things that they could cause, that's a shitload of things that could actually happen, right? And that's damn difficult to predict. So hats off to the Mets to actually get stuff right whenever they do. It's a crazy amount of things that can actually go wrong, like if such small things can change. So what actually is used to predict the weather? A whole bunch of things. There's data coming from radar, weather balloons, buoys that are mounted in the ocean, that's BUOYS. Buoys that are mounted in the ocean are called lifeguards. Then there are weather satellites. There are some countries have satellites specifically for themselves, right? And some of these satellites circle the earth like some 15-16 times a day. And basically all these different data points, all these data sources take a huge fuck ton of data and feed it into a supercomputer. And then the supercomputer takes historical data as well. So there's a whole bunch of data crushing and...
In fact, along with orbiting satellites, there are also geostationary satellites. So which are basically satellites that are synchronized with the spinning time of the Earth, so that they rotate. So they stay along. So geostationary satellites are specifically country-specific satellites. So they stay pointed at one spot, spinning along with the motion of the Earth.
Yeah, and so all this data put together along with the meteorologist's past experience and stuff like that is what comes out with predictions, basically. And what do they track for? They track temperature, humidity, cloud patterns, whole bunch of things. This is one crazy data-heavy, data-intensive industry, this whole thing. So I'm not going to get too much into the data and stuff like that because it gets too technical and too complicated. So I was looking at interesting facts and side notes from this whole weather prediction thing. One of the most important and easy to gauge things for weather are actually clouds themselves. I did not know that there were various types of clouds. If you were to ask me before I did research for this show, what are the different types of cloud, I would have probably said small and big. But there are all sorts of...
Wait, let me try and take a shot at how many there are. There is a cirrus.
Wow, okay.
There is a cumulus.
Wow.
There is a cirrus, cumulus, and then there is a bigger, something cumulus.
Okay, so you're kind of right. So there are three kinds actually. Cumulus is the like fluffy cloud that we all picture in our heads. There is the stratus, which is sort of like layered sort of clouds.
Stratus, yes.
Yeah, and then there is the cirrus, which is sort of like this whiskey type of cloud. When I say whiskey, I don't mean the Jack Daniels type of whiskey, but like whisks of painter's brush, that sort of whiskey sort of thing. And then, so these are the three shapes, as it were. And then there are multiple levels, like clouds are high up, middle, and on the ground. Now you put this matrix of 3 by 3 together and you have 9 different types. And then there are other subvariants and stuff like that. You have clouds that go all the way from the top up to vertical clouds and things like that. So there are quite a few different shapes of clouds. And if you put all these together, like you can figure out, like for example, if there is only one type of cloud, you can say that the weather is fairly sunny or whatever. Of course, if there are no clouds, then there is no chance for rain at all. If the clouds move from the north, then it's likely to be colder weather. If the clouds move from the south, then it's going to be warmer weather. And if clouds are intersecting in both directions, then it's going to be tornadoes. So there are all sorts of this is actually a pretty good watch, and it's something that you can't explain over an audio medium because you need to see those clouds by themselves. So go on to YouTube. There are some very cool videos on how to read the weather or how to predict the weather, very basic things depending on the cloud shapes and things like that. If nothing else, you'll see some extraordinary stop motion footage of time-lapse footage of clouds being formed. So if you're into cloud porn, then
man,
that's
you're in for a treat.
You are in for an absolute treat. Like I really didn't know there were so many types of just clouds that exist, and obviously there are machines that are there to read all the various types of cloud formations and things like that, and that gives a huge indicator in terms of what the weather is going to be. Sometimes it's a lot. I mean, it's obviously a lot more scientific than if there is a big black cloud over your head, it's going to rain. So it's obviously a lot more scientific than that. These things are like predictions, like, it's going to rain 2-3 days down the line and things like that. Now, since this whole space of weather prediction is so data heavy, I thought, hey, the future must hold a lot of things, because right now everyone's talking about, data crunching, big data and all that, right? So with AI and all coming in, and surprise, surprise, there is actually a lot of movement in that space. Artificial intelligence and machine learning are being used to try and come out with better weather prediction patterns and things like that. Now, to be honest, it seems like weather prediction technology by itself has kind of maxed out. But what artificial intelligence is trying to do is give everybody very localized, contextualized weather, which is what these machines are now capable of doing. So, for example, using AI, you may or may not be able to tell whether the whole of Bombay is going to have more rain tomorrow, but you will be able to use it to give you, specifically staying in Malad, a very, hyper contextualized data, because you really don't care about the rest of the city. You care about, where you're going to be. So it's going to be, things like that. You probably can still do that with today's technology, except that it's going to take a lot of computing power. AI and machine learning obviously solves that problem. One video that I saw even said people are working on technology where you send us a photo and we will predict the weather for you, sort of like a dial-in program sort of thing. And then they are also working on immersive technology where, using virtual reality in your room, you can predict, with the context of your house and everything, you can see what the weather is going to look like in a couple of days and stuff.
This is some next level weather obsession.
Next level weather obsession.
Just wait, no, it'll happen.
It'll happen. How impatient are you? So then I thought, okay, this is what the future holds. Then I thought, okay, to complete this circle, we should probably go back and see how people used to predict weather in the old days, right? Before we were able to shoot up tons of metal into space. How did old people? They got along just fine predicting the weather. Of course, all of them conked off at the age of 30, but still they got along pretty fine. And so there are some videos that the logic here is nature knows nature more than humans will ever know nature. So a tree is likely to be able to predict, tree or birds are likely to be able to predict the weather better than humans and machines ever can. So there are lots of funda, and a lot of make sense. It's not just old wives' tales. A lot of these actually kind of make sense. Like if birds are flying very high, then it shows the weather is fair. If the birds start flying lower, it means that rain is going to come. That kind of seems obvious. And if they sort of huddle together, it means that bad weather is coming in a couple of days. It's like they're all like getting ready and stuff. One thing I sort of figured out is, or rather these videos told me, is that when bad weather is coming, nature starts fending for itself. It starts preparing itself for the worst case scenario. So if you see squirrels eating more than they usually do, it's there because they're trying to build up body fat and stuff, and so you can hide when bad weather comes, which I thought was which I thought was very cool. If cows start sitting and chewing their cud, it means rain is coming because they're trying to keep the ground below them dry.
Oh, wow.
And this is another really, really cool one. The leaves, the leaves that are usually flat start forming like a V shape, almost like a little funnel of sort. And that's because they're preparing themselves for water to drain off them. When the rain falls, and then the flowers start smelling stronger and stuff like that. So maybe we finally have an answer for this petrichor nonsense that people keep romanticizing about.
Because I mean, it makes a lot of sense also from the perspective, like with a lot of the other natural phenomena like earthquakes and stuff like that, about how animals are so prescient about like stuff that's going to happen. Yeah. Like animals becoming restless, birds starting to fly away.
So it kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's finally one of the final few mysteries of natural life that are there, about how they are able to predict it faster than like pretty much any of our supercomputers can.
Wow.
I think it's probably a mystery that could be figured out soon. I mean, I wouldn't rule it past people to figure out what exactly that, maybe it's some kind of like pheromones that rise in the air or something that they can smell or something that's there, which has not been identified yet.
Yeah.
But I mean, I wouldn't put it past science cracking that mystery, but I'm glad that there are still some mysteries left in the world that science can't crack.
Profound indeed. And to paraphrase Bob Dylan a little bit, we may not know how many roads we need to walk down before we can call ourselves a man, or how many times cannonballs need to fly before they are banned. But as far as the weather is concerned, I think the answer very much, my friend, is blowing in the wind.
Extreme.
Extreme profound that was. Yeah. So till our next full episode, that's all we have for you in this little shorty. I'm going to attempt to be Naren over here. So stay safe. Try to stay dry if you're in Bombay. And stay simplified. Bye.
Hi, I'm Ronnie Sruvalam, and you've been listening to my podcast and the multiple chapters of my book, Dream With Your Eyes Open. And I think to that, I've had good chats here. And I think chapter 13, my book, is all about Q&As. And I'm sure there are more Q&As. Happy to answer them. So send them in, and happy to have a dialogue with you on that.
So if you'd like to ask Ronnie a question, send it to us at dreaming@ivmpodcast.com. If selected, we'll read out your question on the last episode and have Ronnie answer it. You can also send a question to us on social media at IVM Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Hi, my name is Anupam Gupta. I'm B50 on Twitter. I am the host of Paisa Vaisa, the show that talks money. On my show, I speak to experts from every field of money and finance, from stock markets, equities, debt funds, credit cards, life insurance, every possible area of money and finance that you can think of. We even did an episode on cryptocurrency. I've got fantastic guests from mutual funds to personal finance experts everywhere. Robo-advisory, startups, just name it, we've got it. At Paisa Vaisa, we help you make smart decisions about money. You work hard for money. Now make your money work hard for you. New episodes out every Monday, and you can listen to my show on the IVM Podcast app or any other podcasting app that you have. Paisa Vaisa is brought to you by Paytm Money.